Cyberbrainer is an online training platform designed to help individuals and teams learn the latest technologies and become certified professionals, producing a comprehensive learning experience.
Put it across, to show you, the level of energy and pre-impose that. Almost free to tell me once. So this is a more relevant compensation package. So, first up, what is going to be the eligibility rule, which means for who is it actually eligible? Because the compensation package, I can say that this compensation package is eligible only for folks out of US or folks out of India or AP, A or India plus people who are at what is listed under our limits, or I could say based out of US who are at an aptness system. Here, I could have ended up with a good end of the job profile. Families. So this is specifically where I will say, or I will have job families and family groups coming into the picture over here. Like I said, back to families and family groups are more for admin and reporting purposes. This is one live example where I produce, and here it is just a small rule which I have already available in the system, and this rule, if I scroll down over here, this is going to say organization and superior organizations from now. Just hold on to it right now. I do not want to get into that failed level degree. Just remember that this particular anybody who is in the organization or supervisory organization called as Global India LLCEO is going to be part of this particular compensation package. Anybody in an organization called as Global India LLP will be eligible for this compensation package. And you may ask me a question. Could I have multiple compensation packages for the same organization? Yes, definitely. Yes, I can have multiple compensation packages created for the same organization, and I can choose different compensation packages as per my bill and adopt as well. There is no hard and fast rules that a person, or I would say a person, can at any point of a time, can have only one single compensation package. But at an organization level, I could have multiple compensation packages based on rules, criteria, eligibility, and everything else. Here on this. Any other questions? Okay. And the next thing over here we see here our compensation grade over here, which is more for a director level grade, and at a director level grade, I see multiple grade profiles over here, and each of these grade profiles are going to be having a minimum and a maximum salary, with a median salary range as well, and again, that could have multiple rules attached to them as well. So the grade profiles. The main purpose of my grade profile is to say what is going to be my salary range for any associate who is working for that particular grade. That is the purpose of my grade profile, and I am going to be tagging my grade profile to a compensation grade. So you might have heard this in so many organizations, which I am going to say this is the budget that we have, and this is possibly the midpoint, say. They could say something like $80,000 to $100,000 is my range, and the midpoint at your level or whatever level you want to be like for. It is one thing like something around now empty key, and this is where all information comes in. And again, this is called a vary from organization to organization. Level to level, every organization has a different grade profile and compensation structure, and this is not provided by Workday, because it is not true for thought. Any questions here? So far, and going back, what exactly could be a compensation package is? It is going to be a collection of grades, plans, and everything else. Clear compensation plan plus my grades is going to be what my compensation package is, and I could have different rules, eligibility rules, written for all of them. Any questions here? This is at a high level. They will be creating certain compensation eligibility rules, packages, and everything as well, but at a high level. I just want you to understand what exactly is going to be there in a compensation package. So we saw about compensation packages and everything. Next, the most important thing I just want to discuss today is about frequencies. So, like what we saw over here, frequencies, what is committed from what is going to be the amount, either on a year, in monthly or an RA basis. And, most importantly, I want to get this confused with your pay cycle. May cycle is completely different, because you are not aware or you are high level could say that you are going to be paid X dollars a year, but you can still be paid monthly, or bi-monthly as well, or monthly as well. It is completely different. Your compensation frequency is completely different from your pay frequency. Please don't get confused with that. Alright, I am trying to get, because most people get confused with compensation frequency versus your pay frequency. Don't get confused with your compensation and pay frequencies. Both are completely. App is no interest, because I could have a compensation structure which is defined at an annual level, but I still be paid monthly. My salary. We paid monthly, but my compensation structure is annual, so don't get confused with it. Alright, and where this is being used is only for your compensation and your pay calculations. So I could say that my compensation structure is, I am going to be paid X dollars a year and my salary could be paid on a monthly basis. That is what it comes in. So, for this particular compensation plan, I have certain compensation elements, which is number 1, the base pay element, and this particular base pay element is something which I could define at an annual basis, and I could have various other elements, like something like a variable bonus or something extra, options which could be defined at a quarterly or a half-year level as well. Right, every compensation plan and element is completely different. All this is going to come inside my compensation plan, and again, I have certain rules which are going to come in. Everything is going to be based on my compensation cycle or my frequency. Alright, and I could have different compensation frequencies for the same organization based on the location that they work for, because I could have a global organization like Amazon, which is working in almost 50 or 60 on countries across the group. Each country could have different pay frequencies or not pay frequencies, compensation frequencies, something like in Japan. If you happen to go to Japan, your compensation structure is always defined at a monthly level. You will be said that you want to be paid something like 600,000 yen or year. That is of your compensation. Let down development. In Japan as well as, whereas in the US the compensation structure will say you will be paid 80,000 USD per year, and where you can create all those frequencies is to maintain frequencies, and these are tenant-wide settings, and I would not play around with this much unless there is a necessity for me to do it. If you see, all these are dummy ones which are created, but the standard ones which are usually there is number 1, biweekly, and this is a common terminology, and so many different organizations don't think that biweekly is twice a week. Biweekly means in all practical HR purpose, because I have seen the same thing in other HM tools as well, like PeopleSolved and or May the same suit. Biweekly means once in 2 weeks, and it is not a standard English definition, which is like twice a week. It means once in 2 weeks of fortnightly certain organizations have. It is fortnightly only in the US. We call it as biweekly, but it actually means fortnightly or once in 2 weeks, and daily, not much used over here, and I could have early. I could have monthly, quarterly. I could have certain pay elements like variable pay and say that the frequency for that is going to be quarterly. Alright, that is number one, and the most important thing I just want you to look at over here is called as the annualization factor. Over here. Why this assumes importance is, so we saw about the compensation. Okay, that was that employee. We go to calories profile, see if you see over here annualization factor. This is something which I would definitely want you to pay a lot of attention because this drives practically so many things. Especially it is based on the that certain organizations are not reminded being employees to work. For example, let me go to our agency. If a person is going to or person is expected to clock, say, 8 hours a day, which is standard in US, for a practical purpose, you have expected to work 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week, just standard. But as in Europe, certain other countries could be like in Europe and optics it could be like 7.5 hours a day, which could translate to 37.5 hours per week. So this particular annualization factor comes in when the payroll is going to compute your annual salary. That is why it is very important over here. So what does this 2080 mean? Is the number of us and employees expected to work, and what is we are going to? 8 hours. If I just computed like that and computed against the number of working this in a year, or I would multiply this by number of weekly hours into 52, plus an additional factor that I would like to have, a promotion. That is the way this 2080, this are an annualization, we may have something different over. For example, if I am going to say biweekly, it means once in 2 weeks, which is common across the US. If I say that your pay is going to be, compensation is going to be in your letter. You are going to be paid like $2,000 every biweekly, which means every fortnightly. You are going to be paid $2,000 and your annual salary is going to be 2,000 into 26, which is like the number of fortnights in a year which comes to 26. So your annual pays will be approximately $52,000 a year. And that is where this annualization factor comes in. And these are tenant-wide settings and the basic setup. Please don't meddle with this, because this actually drives a lot of payroll and compensation calculations, and tomorrow, if you want to put some calculations over here, this is where I would want you to come in and check as well. Alright, so you have a weekly one, you have semi-monthly, quarterly, annual. Everything is available over here. So this is where all that big one, C, and the factors come in with you.
Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.